As you've read from the title, yes, we are fortunately or unfortunately at the end of this beautiful decade that we have all been a part of. Now, I'm not going to cause any shit and beat around the bush, but I'm going to come straight to the point and explain why this has been the best decade for football ever. I'm going to start off with the most obvious thing, which is also my favorite part of this very decade, is the rivalry between Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. In this single picture that you see with both of them in it, you can find 9 Ballon d'Ors, 9 Golden Boots, 40 club trophies, and wait for it, exactly 1000 goals between them on the club level and 134 goals between them on the international level in this very decade. Cristiano Ronaldo is right now at 34 years of age and Lionel Messi is right now at 32 years of age. 4 to 5 years from now, both of them would have retired. This decade has possibly been their best ever. Screw possibly. This has been their best decade ever, where they could have possibly done everything, where their domination could have reached the very peak. This was the decade that did everything for both of them. This is the Ronaldo-Messi decade, and this has been the best sporting rivalry of all time across all sports. Also, the debates that the Ronaldo-Messi rivalry had brought, including the back and forths of discussing and debating who the better footballer was so good and so captivating in a million ways. I mean, how often do you see two guys ruthlessly rule football for about 10 years? 9 Ballon d'Ors in 10 years! Insanity! This sport has definitely seen great players where their supreme reign or their top peak lasts only for a couple of years. But how often do you see two guys just rule the sport for almost a decade? Screw that! A decade! A whole decade! How often do you see two guys just take the sport by storm to another level? Their brilliance was just eye-staggering, and I can only dream of watching something like this in the next decade, for sure. If I'm being honest, being 18 right now, at the beginning of the decade where I was invested into this sport more emotionally than rationally, I can easily say that I am pretty lucky that I started watching this sport at a young age, where I had no proper differentiation of emotion and logic. At that age where you have no clue of proper logical thinking and you just enjoy the sport wholeheartedly, you enjoy the player's brilliance 2 times more than it actually is. I'm glad I watched Ronaldo and Messi at such a young age, because I've been able to appreciate a lot of aspects without even criticizing, just enjoying the sport wholeheartedly. I think that kind of purity of mind tremendously helped. I'm just lucky I lived in the era where they reached their peak dominance and they achieved things players would dream of even achieving. So that's that. At the end of the day, I'm just gonna say that be happy that you are living in their era and you had the chance to witness the brilliance that they brought to the table. And for God's sake, let's stop comparing them now, because it's pretty much dead right now to even compare them. They've lived an era, the debating was done, it's over. They're now reaching a stage where few years later they're just going to retire. So let's just pave the way quite smooth that they can finish their careers properly, and we as fans also can bond over football now instead of separate fan bases, and let's just move on to the next thing. This decade produced some of the most amazing games that football ever witnessed, where personally for me, I wouldn't even sleep thinking about them the whole night. I mean, coming from a country where matches are mostly after midnight, I've had some freaking sleepless nights and the time of my life at so many points in my life. I mean, taking this for an example, 2017-18 season, the Juventus versus Real Madrid quarterfinal, the first leg, Real Madrid played the Allianz Stadium and boom! Carvajal crosses to Ronaldo, he scores a bicycle kick and boom. I couldn't contain myself. Believe me, it was like midnight and I couldn't shout because of the locality I was in. But that day, I decided that screw that, I'm breaking the rules. And I didn't even think of, breaking the rule or not breaking it. I just jumped out of my seat and shouted so hard that I got a huge scolding from everyone. But screw that, there's so much passion involved in the sport that you don't even care about all of that even after the whole thing is over. I literally remember not sleeping that whole night in a state of shock and surprise. I mean, it was such a special feeling, man. No sport can ever give you that feeling, let me be honest. Like, if I were to mention many other games that this decade has produced, the visual treats that this decade has given, for me the one that stands out above all is the La Decima. Literally, my heart stopped at the 95th minute when Sergio Ramos scored that header. I thought we were going to lose a Champions League final Real Madrid reached after 12 freaking years. And when Sergio Ramos headed that in and when the game went to extra time, before the extra time even started, I was like, this is our final. This is ours. And it was such a special feeling, man. I feel that no final could ever top that. I mean, for you guys, you might have your own opinion, but for me, I think the La Decima is the most amazing final that the footballing world has ever watched. But I'm not going to speak for you guys. You might have your own choices. Some other honorable mentions to many other noteworthy games is the Barcelona Real Madrid 5-0 in the Camp Nou on 29 November 2010. Fancy how I remember the date, but it was such an atrocious game to watch for me personally. But for all the Barcelona fans, that would have been Christmas coming 1 month earlier to you. Manchester United versus Arsenal 8-2 was a banger. Bayern versus Barcelona 7-0 was also an amazing game. I mean, 7-0 was on both legs. That Bayern Munich were literally killers. They were killers with the ball at their feet. Reading versus Arsenal 5-7. Oh my god, man, that is the most amazing game I've ever watched. Liverpool beat Barcelona 4-0 in the second leg of the Champions League last season. Some amazing moments for Liverpool fans especially. I feel that that game was more worth watching than the Champions League final itself. But you know what, I'm not going to divert. That is one amazing noteworthy game as well. And Spain versus Netherlands 1-5. Netherlands did run riot in Brazil that day. It was also a great match. Portugal versus Spain 3-3 was also an amazing game. Cristiano Ronaldo's free kick at the 85th minute. Oh my god. That game was so captivating. It was so intense. And in my opinion, the best match of the FIFA 2018 World Cup. And also the Brazil versus Germany 7-1. Where Germany ripped Brazil apart at their own home. Guys, let me know if I've missed any matches that you think should have been included in these fixtures that I've just mentioned, because these fixtures have always stood out for me personally. But if you guys have any suggestions too, you can give that. And if I were to highlight specific moments instead of just the match results in terms of emotion or fun, etc., the Aguero moment in 2012. To this very day, you like City or not, tears will roll down your eyes looking at how special of a moment that was in football history. Leicester winning the Premier League. I mean, did anyone ever imagine that? Rising through the ranks, not to clinch a Europa or a Champions League spot, but straight away win the Premier League. Only modern football can produce something like this, straight up. Chelsea winning the Champions League against all odds, against a Bayern Munich that was smashing it throughout in that season. And if you are a Chelsea fan, who other than Didier Drogba to win you a maiden Champions League title? That special feeling that every fan must have experienced. In 2016, Lewandowski scoring 5 goals in 9 minutes. I remember watching the Google app for the scoreline that day, and I saw Lewandowski's name go 5 times and I thought it was a glitch or something. But he did score 5 times and I was like, what the hell? He scored like a madman against Wolfsburg that night. Iniesta scoring the winner in the World Cup final and dedicating it to Dani Jarque, an Espanyol player who had died from a heart attack the previous year. Guys, imagine what is possibly the biggest goal of your life and dedicating it to a peer that had just died a year ago. Not a year, but maybe 10 months ago. And that moment is supposed to be all about you as a player, as a personality. But only Iniesta could do something like that. Thinking back, I am quite skeptical of finding a player like Iniesta again. Maybe skill-wise, yes. But as a personality, as a human being, no way, no chance. Real Madrid also breaking the record of back-to-back Champions League trophies, never done before. Same applies that for Sevilla winning back-to-back Europa League trophies. So for Spanish football, this was a huge W. This decade has been a whole lot of an elevation they could have ever imagined. The Zlatan Ibrahimovic bicycle kick for Sweden against England, 30-yard bicycle kick. And Joe Hart running back to his post, only to realize that he has no chance of saving it. These were some honorable mentions, some honorable moments of the decade. If you guys have more, please let me know, because this decade is no less of a killer, of a banger. I think another thing why we are so lucky to be in this decade is that the last decade did not have the chance of entertainment outside the football pitch, where moments that happened on the field would just be restricted on the field and it could not be taken from there to somewhere else. But now the world has now technologically advanced for taking that footage and to make it into something else in the form of videos, memes, etc. We have definitely had noteworthy moments in this decade too. With the internet being on the rise, we've had no less of laughs. And my best and most favorite moment will always and will definitely be the 2013 Suarez biting Ivanovic and the 2014 Suarez biting Chiellini incident. To this very day, 6 years and 7 years later, it is still clowned. And that's what I love about the internet. In my opinion, modern football hasn't been only about the football. With the emergence of social media in this decade, the sport has been popularized on such a large scale that it is right now, as we speak, the most popular sport in the world. And I've been so lucky to watch that growth myself and be part of that growth, spreading the joys of the sport to more and more countries, spreading more awareness. Being from a country like India myself, I've been able to see the growth from where it was 5 years ago to where it is now. And I'm so happy that India has been able to enjoy the pleasures of that sport. And being optimistic, I think if we'd give it a few more years, I am actually expecting India to play the FIFA World Cup. This decade has possibly done the unthinkable. Massively spiked on the graph on all parameters, be it the footballing moments, internet value, and of course the awareness across the world. I'm honestly honored to be a part of all this and to be able to witness all of this with my own eyes. And this is why I feel that this has been the best decade for football till now. This has been the Bigfoot channel. See you guys later. Take care and wish you a happy new year. Thank you.